Hi there! In today's episode, we're going to check the mail. Yep, I'm still male. Over the past 8 episodes, as I have published these videos online or have shared them on various forums, or even just when I've interacted on some of those fitness forums and I've told people what I've been up to, any progress I've been making, people have questions and comments and basically, general viewer feedback. Sometimes it's by email, sometimes it's a comment on YouTube, and sometimes it's right there in a forum on a thread. And what I want to do today is take some of those replies, those responses to the previous 8 episodes and just answer them or reply to them. There were actually quite a lot. Some people have offered me advice. Some people have had questions about various things. I've gone through and I've picked ones that I felt would be good to answer for the entire viewing audience. Entire, at this point, is currently used very loosely, but, that audience hopefully will grow over time. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the things people have had to ask or say after seeing the first 8 episodes. From the release of the very first video, although I guess nowadays it's called dropping, I don't remember when that happened, but sometime in the past decade, it went from we're releasing a new album to we're dropping a new album. And my thought is, when you drop an album, you just damage it. So let's go back to releasing. From the release of my very first video, The Life of Brian, way back in January, a lot of people had positive and encouraging things to say about it. Doug Hampton wrote, "This is what people need to see and hear, the whole story laid out. When it started, how it started, what you did about it, what you learned along the way, the highs, the lows, the good, bad, and ugly, coming out as open and honest as you do." And that has been the underlying idea behind all of my videos, going back to some of my early experimental series as far back as 2010. I did notice on YouTube there are a lot of channels about fitness and health, and they're usually hosted by guys who already look fantastic. They start their channel after years of working out and crafting a really eye-catching physique. I didn't want to wait that long. I wanted to just kind of track my own story, really just even for myself. I posted it on YouTube in case anybody else did want to watch, and people started watching. It was very encouraging. But from the very beginning, I knew I didn't have the body to impress. It was all about the story of going from square one. And you joined me, 9 years after square one, but I'll catch you up as needed, and I've said that before. So Doug's comment about just being honest about what's going on, that's what I've got here. And sometimes it is ugly. He said the good, the bad, and the ugly, and sometimes it is, it is not a pretty picture yet. But if I tried to hide it, or if I tried to impress you with things that weren't true about me, things that I wasn't doing, it just wouldn't work. This is the channel, and there's nothing against the big guys and the guys who start a channel once they are perfect, and they are encouraging and motivating, and I subscribe to many of them. But this is the channel for anyone who wants to follow along with the average guy, just doing kind of what he can while dealing with a family life and work schedule and all of that stuff, just kind of all of the realities that go into it, which I don't see a lot of online, on YouTube, on Vimeo. So, for what it's worth, at this point I have something like 80 or 90 subscribers, and each video tends to get about 20 or 30 viewers, but hopefully it's helping somebody out there. A woman named Taylor, also from my bodybuilding network, writes, "It makes me feel so sad that you felt that way in college. Nobody should ever have to feel that way, but it's a real thing. I know your honest and open approach will be hugely well received and followed." In the first part of her comment, Taylor is referring to my mention in episode 1 of feeling uncomfortable in college with even being in short sleeves, of having just a body. I just didn't want anyone to see the form and shape of it all, and so I would wear sweaters even when the weather did not entirely warrant it. So it is unfortunate that I felt that way. I think even more unfortunate is that I did not really use that to motivate myself to get started way back then. I could be a beast by now, but oh well. So for anybody else who does feel that way, you are overweight and it's uncomfortable for you mentally and physically, I do hope that this channel can just be one motivating tool for you, and hopefully now and then an actual educational tool. And together, you and I will become awesome human beings, physically speaking. You already are an awesome... Never mind. Okay. And in much more straightforward terms, Dazzy King from My Bodybuilding Network writes, "Wow, I really enjoyed that vid, mate. Well done. Thanks for sharing." So I'm growing an international following as well. They are apparently enjoying it over in the United Kingdom, which is good. Underneath all of it, I do want these videos to be entertaining. I've seen videos online where it's about health and fitness, and the guy hosting it obviously has done a great job. He's in a tank top, and you can see, his shoulders and his traps, and you can tell that below that, out of shot, he probably has a fantastic physique. And yet all he does is sit there. I've seen channels where that's what they do, is they sit there and say, "Oh, here's what I did in the gym today, and here's what I ate today." And my thought is, so take the video camera to the gym, take the video camera to your kitchen, and show us. I come from a filmmaking background. I've wanted to make movies since I was 13. And I could not tolerate loading a video of my own where all I did was sit there and talk to you. I want to make it interesting. I want to make it a little miniature movie. So for any of you video fitness enthusiasts, and frankly any subject you're covering, if you're talking about your favorite book, if you're talking about your favorite poodles, I don't care. Go to the movies, watch 24 movies, and soak up everything about them that makes them enjoyable to you, and try to put a little bit of that in your YouTube videos. And now I'm really going off on a separate tangent soapbox, so back to fitness. And every once in a while I get a comment that is delightfully surprising. This short and simple one from YouTube user TheJackal1106. He simply says, "Great voice." So thank you. And I think somebody else commented after that, said, "Yeah, I agree, you have a great voice for bodybuilding." I didn't know there was a voice for bodybuilding. I have been told I have a voice for radio, and in fact for 3 years I had a radio show down in Bend, Oregon. But thank you, the Jackal. I appreciate that. As an actor and a voiceover talent, I do appreciate that. Okay. Episode 2 was called Objectives and Obstacles, and it was my list of goals for the year as well as hurdles that I was aware of that I would have to overcome. And Brad Collins of My Bodybuilding Network writes, "I have never had a client that has come to me with a better plan, execution strategy, obstacle report, and finish line than this." I'm going to assume Brad is a personal trainer based on that comment, but he was not the only one to have similar comments on that episode. I think his was just the most concise, so I picked it for here. A lot of them saying, "Wow, you're so well organized." I am a chronic and habitual planner and organizer. In fact, sometimes I'm much better at planning than I am at actually doing, which might be the case for my health and fitness, but I don't know if I even mentioned it in episode 2, but to all of you viewing this, especially those getting started, yes, have a plan. I did waste a lot of time. I don't know if it was a total waste because I was lifting, but I wasted a lot of time in my early years because I would just go to the gym and kind of do stuff and then go, well, I should probably do something else the next day. And I didn't know where I was going. I didn't really know what I wanted. And yeah, have a plan, and so thanks to Brad for noting that. And if you're one of Brad's clients, impress him, show him up, show him that you watched episode 2. With regards to my 5 specific goals for 2019, Stacy Ford of My Bodybuilding Network writes, "The only one I'm concerned with is the body fat. That is a very hard goal to get to. It will take a very extreme change in all directions and significant lifestyle changes altogether. I am aware to some degree, and certainly by having people tell me, that losing body fat, especially for someone like me who holds on to it and who's in his 40s, is a big challenge. So it is a goal to get below 10%. I am aware that that is probably the hardest goal of all 5 of them. Either that or hitting 315 with the weights. But yeah, it's out there. And I feel that at least by having the goal and aiming for it, I will at least improve my body fat percentage, even if I don't hit 10% this year. In episode 3, The Toolbox, I mentioned some bodybuilding cookbooks, including one that my friend Bob sent me as a present, and Stacy Ford wants to know, have you dug into that cookbook as of yet? And I will admit, to my shame and disgrace, no, I have not. My apologies to Bob. I am going to do that because I do need to start getting in better shape, and if I want to get that 10% body fat and all of the strength and stuff that I want, eating is key. I think I have a comment about that, in fact, coming up. But not to waste a friend's generosity. I need to get that cookbook out. I need to start trying stuff that is in it. So there's your answer, Stacy. From episode 5, Muscle for Beginners, we have Stacy one more time, and she came back with what I think is my favorite response of all time so far. She writes, I gave this video to a friend of mine who has a son that just turned 15 and wanted to get into the gym. He said he learned more in 2 hours than he has in a year all over the net. So somewhere out there is a teenager who saw episode 5, and then from the fact that apparently he spent 2 hours watching, he must have gone back and watched episodes 1 through 4, and he declared that he learned more there than spending a year browsing the internet. My first thought is then he hasn't browsed the right spots on the internet, because there is a lot of good information out there. But secondly, wow, and thank you, and it shows that my thoughts on how to present my story are certainly not wasted. When I created episode 5, on the one hand, it felt very simple. It felt very elementary to be discussing, muscle and myofibrils and just the basics of how they work. And yet at the same time, it is a foundation to really crafting the body you want. And so I'm delighted that somebody out there found it very educational. In episode 5, I presented most of my interview with Dr. Mark Valenti, but he said a few things that applied later and better to episode 7, Time to Grow, how to actually get the muscle to grow. So I brought that footage in, and he talked about bulking up, how when you work out, you will actually bulk up the muscle. It's not just a question of inflating it with blood or air. You will actually bulk up on the muscle tissues, the muscle fibers. A friend of mine, Danielle Zeppes, commented, since Dr. Valenti mentioned bulking up, I thought it worthwhile to clarify for the benefit of your female audience, women who do resistance training will not bulk the way men do. We'd need testosterone for that. So lift to your heart's content, ladies. My underlying focus for this channel is going to be my experiences in the gym, my knowledge, and the things I learn about me and how to improve my body. And so therefore, as a male, it is going to focus on men's health and fitness. But there is a difference between the way a man's body reacts to resistance training and the way a woman's body reacts. And so if you are a female viewer, just know that I am not going to be comprehensively covering all of the differences. So I do thank Danielle for chiming in there. Women have more estrogen, men have more testosterone, and testosterone is what really helps the muscle grow. It's why the female bodybuilders, the ones who from the neck down look like men, have to use testosterone injections and probably steroids to really get that bodybuilder look. It does not come naturally to a female. If you call that or consider that unfair, I'm sorry, that's biology, but I don't even know what I want to say here, except thank you, Danielle, for pointing that out. Maybe I should move on. And then after releasing episode 8, Parts and Plans, Dominic from My Bodybuilding Network writes, all of the training in the world doesn't equate to a single thing without the diet and nutritional side of the equation. Be sure to make a point to not just cover the diet aspect, but overcover it. It cannot be talked about enough. My circle of acquaintances over at my bodybuilding network are regularly reminding me, almost as if they think I don't know it, that diet and nutrition are essential to crafting a big, strong body. You can do resistance training in the gym all you want, but if all you're eating is Twinkies, you're not going to get the results. And so after episode 8, where I focused on how to put together a workout plan, and I think given the fact that of those 4 episodes, episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8, only episode 6 touched on nutrition. They have all been reminding me, don't forget to harp on nutrition. I will be. As I said in episode 6, I still have a lot to learn myself, and it is a topic that's going to be hard to talk about to a wide audience because everybody is so different. I presented some thoughts on what I wanted to say on nutrition to a Facebook group, and comments ranged from, that's not going to apply to everyone, to someone who bluntly said, you don't know enough to create an episode about nutrition. Okay, anyway, I did create an episode about nutrition, and there will be more. But there are so many different body types, there are different metabolisms, there are just different ways that different people handle different foods. And so, although there is some general science, there are also wide variations, and it can be simple, and then it can get very complicated. And so I will present information I learn as I go, as I feel I'm confident enough about it to present it to you accurately. I don't want to present misinformation, and so I'm actually very hesitant, especially in the nutrition subject, to present anything at all until I really know what I'm talking about. We will talk about it more. To comment on what Dominic said, yes, it is very important. Depends on who you listen to. Some people will say it's 60% of your results. Some people will say it's 70% of your results. Some people will say it's 90% of your results. You can't really put a percentage. I mean, you look at a bodybuilder on stage and say, now 60% of the muscle he has is because he ate right. You can't do that. All of them, no matter what number they use, they're all making a point that diet and nutrition has to be foundational. You have to be eating the right things, or you won't get the right results. Okay, so yes, I'm quoting Dominic here. I'm bringing up his comment to simply make that point. I am aware that nutrition is key. You won't see a lot of episodes on that subject until I start really knowing what I'm talking about. Okay. To close out our mailbox today, I have had several comments over the past few months since I have taken so long to produce each of these episodes. There's no one person I'm going to quote. They just all kind of have this general question in mind. When are we going to get an update on you? In episodes 1 through 4, I basically laid out the foundation of me. I didn't even really get to January 1st of 2019. It was all information leading up to that, setting up that the start of this channel and my pursuit of better fitness from 2019 forward. And then episodes 5 through 8 were instructional. And so people are wanting to know, what have you been up to, Brian? How is progress going? Are you meeting any of your goals? When are we going to hear about you? And the answer is episode 10.